Welcome, folks. So excited to have you here. If you're watching live, welcome back. If you're watching the recording on your favorite platform, so happy to have you joining us after the fact. If you are watching live and you have questions for today's guest, just a little housekeeping, put them in the comments section wherever it is that you're watching. We can see all those places, and we will be sure to bring those to our guests. My friend Katie Fielding is in the background. She's going to be sharing what you see down there right now, which are links to resources and certificates and all of the goodies that we're sharing today. So if you want the resources that we're sharing today and everything that we're talking about just right to your inbox, be sure to go to that website, fill out the form, and put in your email so that we can email it to you. Okay. I am so excited to be bringing you this entire week of amazing content all about AI literacy. But the real kicker is that we're kicking it off with a good friend of mine and longtime ambassador, Dr. Wren, who's just an absolute guru with both Common Sense and Book Creator. And we're joined by Jennifer from Common Sense, which is super exciting. We are so excited to be bringing this AI literacy content to teachers, and we have two absolute experts with us today to kick things off. So Jennifer, Ann, the floor is yours.
Thank you. All right, I am very excited to be here. Thank you for having us. Ann and I have presented a few times together now, so we are here. We can go, let's just get right into it, right? I mean, I want to kick things off. If you had an AI superpower, what would it be? So if you want to go ahead and share in the chat, any superpower at all, via the new AI technology. I know mine would be being able to speak any language, anywhere, anytime, and it be correct.
That is very, very pertinent to have. I'm Ann, and I'm a classroom teacher, and my AI superpower, I think, would be able to pull up, and I know this sounds so very much scholarly and academic of me. But if I could say something and then instantly be able to substantiate it with resources that are research-based, right? I'm saying this is going to work for your classroom. Well, not only my classroom did it work for, but these 6,000 other researchers tested it and they say it will work also. So just to be able to prove what I'm saying. And I think that for me would be my AI superpower, and seems very not relevant, but when I talk, I want to be able to talk from a good space.
I love it. That's an excellent one. I love it. Yeah. So if you have any AI superpowers you'd like to share, put them in the chat. We'll read them. So today, welcome, everybody. We're going to think about what we want to cultivate in our classrooms today, especially this time of year. We're going to talk about some digital routines in our classroom and how we want to learn and the expectations we want to establish with our, steps into AI literacy and how that looks like throughout the school year. And we're going to also talk a little bit about our brand new K-8 lessons from Common Sense Media. We are thrilled that these are finally launched. And so we're going to give you a little taste of what that could look like. I think you'll be very excited. And then we also have some really great new family engagement content, both on the AI literacy side and also on the side of the new lessons. So sit tight, and we're going to get through all of this content because it is good. It gets good. So how can we be responsible digital citizens in our online communities? And this is the question I think that I use often as we head back to school in the fall, right? It's where we're setting up our norms and our routines and our expectations. And so this is always the golden question that I ask a lot of the educators that I'm working with. And so you'll see at the bottom of this slide, I linked out to all of our lessons that builds on the K2 lessons. And then you'll see a 3-5 lesson, a 6-8, and then a 9-12. And these lessons are really great to kick off this question and address this question. So you'll see the digital citizens are still there. We love our little digital citizen characters that represent all the different themes of our Common Sense scope and sequence. And from there on, you have a learning charter, which Ann is going to get into. How to design a nice learning charter with all of the expectations that you want to see. And then the whole idea of healthy habits, right? Those are right up front, out the door. We want to make sure we're instilling those healthy habits and addressing those distractions that we can sometimes come across in our classrooms. And then our tech and values is more for the middle and high school. So all of those are linked out for you to check out. We're going to keep going because Anne's going to take a deeper dive into our learning agreements.
So when I started the school year, I knew that I wanted to start with my classroom norms and things that we know are kind of expectations. I teach fifth grade, which by this point, many of them know the rules of school. They know it without having to have it established or written. They know them as just norms of being members of our school community. So we talked really about it. And here in this book, you'll see the teacher template that you can just kind of remix and make a copy of. But I actually want to take you into the student sample so you can see the work that my kids did. So I started really with just the concept of digital citizenship. And for them, they had no idea what it meant. I was still shocked by the time you get to fifth grade, if you don't know what digital citizenship means. I think we kind of missed something there, right? So I talked to them about what it meant, what digital means, what citizenship means. And we came to the conclusion that they knew what it was, they just didn't know what it was called. So it was kind of nice. So I was like, oh yeah, so you know these rules, you know these norms, you know that that's what you're supposed to do. You just didn't know it was called digital citizenship. So I started with my essential question: how can we be responsible digital citizens in our community? I had to define our community to make sure they understood I'm talking about school, and then sometimes I'm talking about at home. But for the most part, this conversation was about our work at school. In our class, on the very first day, we had a treatment agreement. And this treatment agreement, basically, we discussed and we talked about how they wanted me to treat them, how they think I want to be treated, how they should be treating each other, and how they should be treating guests. This is our class norms. These are the norms that we have in our classroom. We didn't have to post them. They were already norms that we do. They're things that we as students and contributing members of our society do. So this is up and it's signed by all the kids and it's put up against my wall. So I thought about that and I was like, I took this and I said, well, these are the norms for how we treat each other in person. What happens when we enter that digital online space? You can still have these norms. They just change just a little bit because there are more things you can do. So that launched our digital norms. And so then I said, another community is our online community, and we can become digital citizens. So over the course of 2 days, we discussed what it was like to be a digital citizen, some of the norms that we have, and they knew many of them. There were only a few that I had to really talk to them about. By fifth grade, they are just starting now to really go on their own and do research and go to websites on their own. And so we had to talk about some of the norms for that. But I broke them up into groups, and this all came from the lesson. You have all of these little things in the lesson. But in Book Creator, I was able to get all of their ideas onto one book, and it was great because we could see each other. We were all collaborating. So I had one group talk about what kind of norms we should have when we share online, what kind of norms we should have when we respond online, when we work online. And for my students, I had to define that work meant school work, right? We're here to work. That's our work. And then when we playing games, because we're all gamers, everybody likes to play games. And that's that space where they go to connect with their peers or their families that are not nearby. So everyone broke up into groups, and one page was not enough in my book because they were arguing and they were like, your font is too small and I can't fit mine in there. Some wanted to draw a little cartoon. I mean, one of the things about Book Creator that makes it so beautiful is that I wanted them to be able to respond in the way that mattered to them. For some of them, it was an audio recording. For some of them, it was simply a text box in a different color. And for some, it was drawing a little comic. So let me show you. I started to duplicate some of the pages, which happens very easily, right? The kids were like, oh, we suddenly got more room. That's the beauty of Book Creator, isn't it? So for my groups who share online, so I talked to them and I said, what do we do? What are our norms when we share online? When we share online, we will stay safe, respect others' privacy. When we share information, we talk about asking for permission for pictures. That is a huge one that they had never thought about before, especially when we have school events and they're posting pictures with their friends. They did a cute little dance number at their event, and then they're like, I'm going to post this, but have you ever thought about whether you should ask your friend if they are okay with it or not? And I introduced them to putting a smiley face on someone's head if they don't want to be seen, and they thought that was really neat.
Hey, Anne,
Yeah.
can we see this book?
This is the book.
We can't see it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. Am I not sharing it?
I think just
No.
switch tabs.
Which tab?
Probably.
Got
I'm
it.
sorry. You're talking about emojis. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's where we probably
No, I
should.
didn't want to interrupt, but
Please
I think-
interrupt.
but
Please
That was the
interrupt.
good stuff.
Sorry, I opened up
Yeah.
a tab. Let me see if I can.
Yeah,
do
no
it.
worries. We'll give you a second.
There
Yeah,
we
I
go.
did also share the lesson link if you want to put that in the chat that she's referring to, if anybody wants to see the lesson as she's speaking.
There's the lesson.
There we go.
Oh, and you can see we had a lot of fun. This was the instructions that I gave them. And then I said this, we're going to split up. I initially only gave them 1 page for each. And that's where I was like, oh, that's not enough room. And I don't even have a class the size of most classes. So maybe 2 to 3 pages per student, per class. But it was so nice to get them all on there. When I broke them up into groups, the conversations that was happening was, no, I'm going to write about that. I'm going to write about this. I think you should write about that. What if we talk about this? So it was just a lot of really genuine, authentic conversations happening. We talked about giving your phone number and private information, things like that, where I know we talk about it when they're young, but when they're young, you don't really know if it sits and it's there. But the minute I said, what should we not share online? I was like, personal information. Tell me, what is personal information? And, certain things they were so excited about sharing and they knew what was personal information. I told them, like, sometimes sharing things like your school could be personal, depending on what it is that, you're doing, but you really want to try and share in an authentic way where it doesn't lead to too much sharing, oversharing. That's what the kids called it, oversharing. So we talked about responding. We will respond with kindness, never be mean, encourage. So I really liked, because so often you see when you respond, you are nice, right? You give a space to be nice. But one of the things that I love, the comments that I love, was encouraging, to go on and bring someone up. Like, that is such a wonderful, we need more of that. We need more of kids being kind to one another and bringing each other up, not just being kind, but also, if you're having a bad day, or if you're, a little self-conscious about your artwork, bring their value up, bring it up in a way that, I think you should share this. I think everyone should see it. It's so great. And, things like that we want to hear more of online. So fun, nice, encouragement. And we talk about work. Many of them said when they're at home, they don't go online at all. And I said, you know what? That makes a lot of sense, because I don't necessarily go online at home a lot either, because I have a really good sense of balance. So when we work at school, these rules and these norms also apply. And so we talked about, when we do research, we're at a big research project right now. When we do research, do we just steal things off the internet and just not tell people that we took their work? Or do we just go to images and take the images and without citing or finding out if there's copyright behind it? And so they realize that there are things, and I showed them some of the tools that automatically filter for copyright. And I told them, I said, you know what, in the age that we live in, if you can't find the picture with all of the tools, you can definitely draw it. And that's why I love the book creator pages. If they can't find the picture, they can draw it. They have, not only do they have the hand drawing tool in Book Creator, like the little cat right there, they could have found an icon. They could have used the auto draw. They can find the images. They can find the things that speak to them and answer the questions in the way they want to answer it. So we have a very big turtle obsession in our classroom. I have no idea why. I don't know where it came from. I love it though. I think my kids are so special and unique, and turtles are them and I am there. And so I've been crocheting turtles all over the place, and it is for us. And that's going to be our mascot this year. Every year is special and different, and we're going with this one. So we find turtles everywhere. And this young man decided to draw a turtle, and I love it. And I was like, what's the purpose? I don't know. I just like it. Okay, great. That is your language. That is how you want to speak. Great. I love it. And he's talking, he's giving us advice. So I love that they're able to just kind of share the things that they think. When we work, we are responsible for our work. We focus on our work, and we write our own words. That one, by the way, I just want to show, write our own words. That one came back later. It will come back later in a little mini lesson on plagiarism. Just, when we're talking about LLMs and big chatbot engines, but that one I'm going to use that one later when we talk about writing in our own words. Playing. This one, they seem to have a lot of background knowledge on. They had a lot of experience with this one. I better not cheat. that's a big one, right? Like you shouldn't cheat, be trustworthy. I told them, just like playing at school or playing a dodgeball or playing kickball at school on the playground, when you're not a nice person or you're cheating, nobody wants to play with you and it makes you sad. And so we think about those things. It happens online as well, right? We want to be someone that is kind and trustworthy. We're talking about, this little robot here is talking about not sharing information over chat rooms and inside gamer places. So being safe, not talking to people that we don't know. I personally have a rule with my family that if I don't see them in person, like if I don't know them, me personally, as the grown-up in the home, if I don't know them, then they're not allowed to chat with them online and if they want to be able to chat, then we need to make an effort to get to know each other in person before that happens. So that's just one of the things that the kids were like, oh, that's a great idea. We should do that too. I love this one. This student wanted a whole page all to themselves. And I was like, well, okay, here you go. And so they all agreed that this person could be on here, and this person decided to have friends add little emojis here and there. But I love what my favorite thing is, the little gamer right here. That was hand drawn. And that was hand drawn with the shapes in the drawing tool, the little find the picture. Like it was a mashup of all the different tools in Book Creator. I showed them how to find the panels in the comic panels to make it look like a comic book. They decided 3 was too many, so they decided 2. So look how wonderfully expressive this is. And it tells you so much in such a short little clip of things, right? So I really thought that was really very well done. And I will tell you right now, because Book Creator is so easy, this whole lesson with all 4 pages took 1 full class period. The discussion and everything took 1 full class period. And this is just online. We haven't even touched AI literacy. We haven't even touched, this is just the norms from the common sense lesson that we worked on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create everything, kind of compose everything together and create our online norms, our digital citizenship norms that we in Room 62 are going to have together. And I think that's why I love the idea of them. We collaborated on it together, just like we did our classroom norms. These are our online norms. So then I'm going to change to the screen again and present back on the presentation we talked about AI literacy, right? And AI literacy, the expectations. These were the points that I modeled, that I showed them, and I was like, this is what I do, and I have to make sure that these are the things that I modeled with them. We didn't have this discussion as a class because I wanted to just talk to them about it. This was still new to them. We talked about creating our AI companion, and like when I say, hey Siri, we talked about what AI is and what it actually does and what it can and cannot do. And then by naming it and creating a person, I guess, an entity that could have these powers, it was easier for them to talk about it. So we discussed it, and then we decided each one of us had one of these little templates of our AI robot, and they worked on this robot together. This is just one of the samples, and we're still working on our robots, but this is just one of the sample. I made a copy. All of them are working on it, and then I'm going to import it all into one book, and then we're all as a class going to come together and feel like, what are our superpowers? I can answer any question that you ask on the internet. What is the weakness? I can only generate images that were already there on the internet. How insightful is that? What can I do? I can generate images from your mind and into a picture, like what you say. How do I learn? I learn when you be more descriptive about a topic, and then I can recommend more things like that. How insightful is that? And then where can you find me working? You can find me working in your computer, right? So they know that this is something that is a tool that we use. After this, I had a little bit of a discussion, and I used the AI literacy toolkit for families. And I think, Jen, you're going to go over later to foster these discussions. Even though these tools were made for families to have, I was able to have classroom discussions with that. I stuck them up on chart paper, and we all walked around the classroom, and we had little Post-its everywhere of us just kind of answering these little toolkit questions that Jen will share in just a little bit. But you can get a copy of the teacher book that I used here. And then what I did was I made it an assignment. Each kid got a copy, and I'm going to eventually put them all into one book, kind of merge them, manipulate the pages a little bit to get a class version of our AI robot. And then once we started talking about AI and literacy and things like that, we kind of took everything together, and we committed to some superpowers as super digital citizens. This project came last year, and it was my absolute favorite project. And I love how they came out. They talked about a skill or a norm that they're going to focus on and be really good and promote and speak on and share with their friends. And then they created a little, I guess, a little character trading card that they're going to be able to use and share as they're talking about it. And my goal is to kind of get these all printed like little trading cards and have them for them, like hanging out over the room. And then at the end of the year, they can take them home.
Those are so cute. They are just way too cute.
So
Yeah. I love it.
So I'm gonna
and then at the bottom of that screen, I did link out to the super digital citizen lesson that you can teach about all the superheroes and what your online super powers could be. So that lesson's there as well. So the idea here is every page has our lesson connected to what Anne did as her activity with her classroom.
And so for me, this was just the beginning. And this conversation will continue with little bits here and there with the new lessons that Jen's going to share.
I know. I mean, all that upfront work, you got to make sure you're keeping it going all year, right? I mean, if anyone knows more than you and other educators out there is consistency, right? The consistency, you can set it up and make these beautiful things happen in the first couple of weeks of school. But if you don't keep going back to them, and kind of reiterating what we're doing and modeling what we just talked about. So we are hoping that you find this new K-8 lesson collection exciting. We launched this about 4 weeks ago. So it's fresh off the press. And so we have a new digital literacy and well-being curriculum. The cool thing about this at the highest level is every lesson is 20 minutes long. So we really condensed them. And so I don't want anyone to fear when they see 13 to 18 lessons per grade level. Keep in mind, those are only 20 minutes each. And so even if you taught the surface level lessons, the surface bulk of the lessons, you're still getting way more than you could have before. So that's awesome. So we have on this, I did link out to our lesson collection. So you have easy access there. And then I always like to share the curriculum connections. And so if you are new to incorporating digital literacy into your classrooms, or you're newish, or you've been doing it, either way, this is a nice framework to think about where else you could incorporate it within your schools or your districts. The next slide we're going to go to, or the next page, I should say, the next book page. This is our scope and sequence, and this is probably my most favorite scope and sequence we've ever had at Common Sense. And you can see here, we start at kindergarten, and I really like how we designed the steps and like the what am I looking for? The way in which it flows, right? The sequence of it. So kindergarten, obviously, we're discovery and awareness. First grade, second grade, we're growing, responsibility, decision making. All those things are happening. You'll see in the third through fifth grade, digital life foundations are starting in fifth grade. Right? We're starting to talk about a little more in depth around like private versus personal information. Fourth grade, where the critical awareness is big, right? And then by fifth grade, believe it or not, we have preteen digital life. Unbelievable, right? But that's how fast and furious tech is going, and it's just dropping earlier and earlier with our students. And so, the preteen digital life is already happening in fifth grade. Yeah, we'll just set on that for a minute. And then sixth grade, the independence on and offline. Seventh grade, obviously, even sooner, I'm sure, but the social media literacy is going to be very important. And then eighth grade is the leadership and ethics. And the other cool thing about these K-8 lesson is the AI literacy piece is sprinkled throughout. So it's not necessarily an offset lesson of like, we're going to learn about AI literacy today. It's more infused in some of the things we're already doing. It's just we're up against a more powerful tool. And so if you go out to the scope and sequence real quick, if you want, just to give you a screenshot, the scope and sequence is a really nice planning component, I think, for like lesson planning. I think you'll be able to see the different lesson topics and titles. And it's just going to quickly take us to like fifth grade. If you scroll down to like fifth grade slide, we can see how you, so we give you an overview of what fifth graders, where they're at, right? Where their learning components are, what they're thinking about. And you can see here, We're talking device-free moments. We're talking, still dealing with some of the cyberbullying and understanding how to be an upstander. I love the friends versus followers lesson. Who are our friends and who are we just following, et cetera. And that in other way, vice versa. Let's see here, design tricks, tricky tech games. So we're really starting to get into the idea of critical thinking and who are we really, communicating with. Don't take the bait. So clickbait is also introduced in this grade band, and standing up to others. We have lots of different strategies, acronyms. There's more games involved. And what I mean by games is offline games. So you're going to see a bingo game in there. I don't know if you remember the fortune tellers. I don't know. What did you call them when you were growing up, where you folded them and
yeah, the cootie catchers, I think.
Yeah. I think I had one here earlier, but yeah. Anyway, the cootie catchers, I guess people called them. So lots of cool things there. And so this is just one snapshot of 5th grade. If you go into every grade band, it's going to give you this big overview, which I think is perfect for lesson planning and building it into your curriculum across your schools. And then the last part of this, as we wrap up our session, I just wanted to make sure you had a good insight into our family content, because there's lots of new things there as well. Our family content, we have a whole new guide to supporting families. And so we have these conversation starters. And I don't know if you remember back in the day, or if you do it with your families now, but the rose, bud, thorn concept. I know we do it at our house. Like, what was your rose of the day? What happened? That was wonderful. What wasn't so good, right? And how can we make it better? So we've tied digital literacy concepts to rose, bud, thorn. 2 truths and a lie never get old, right? Like, it's always fun to do that. And so there's some cards there that are fun conversation starters. And of course, the infamous would you rather. Would you rathers, again, that's another one that never gets old. So, and then we also have some carpool conversations with like podcasts, and I've used them with my 5th grader as we're going to sports and soccer and dance and all the good stuff. You just play those and the kids are giggling and having so much fun on, like, would you rather have your mom clean your room or go through your phone? And it's just awesome to hear those giggles. I know. What would you pick? I don't even know. I don't even know. But yeah, so if you go to the next one, I have a couple of examples of slides here, a little bigger, but I connected the K2, 3, 5, and 6, 12. So it's all bundled in like a PDF form. So you could just print those off and have them handy.
Oh, sorry.
That's a YouTube list. The carpool conversations are a YouTube playlist. So you could just play those. Great for soft starts in the morning. Maybe as we're getting ready to like go out for the day. Those are great for the classroom use as well, but really nice for parents as turnkey things. And then our AI literacy toolkit for families is, again, another great bundle of conversation cards around AI literacy. Because I know families are like, I know what it is. I sort of know what it is, but these cards kind of help build it up. Like, let's talk about it. There's no right or wrong answer in some cases. And so you have a link out to all of those. We partnered with Day of AI on this toolkit. And so shout out to Day of AI. They did some great work with us in creating it. And so everything you need to talk about AI literacy, both in your classrooms and with your families, and all good stuff for like classroom newsletters, easy to, clip, post, links, all there. So nice ways for families to have it right on their phone. That's the only way I get information. If it's not coming to my phone and I can link on it, it's not happening. And then the last piece I always love to share is our family tech planners, helping, families balance this whole idea of media and technology at home. And so you do all this work and in the classroom of like our expectations in our classroom, how can we help our families build those expectations at home too, with what they are doing with their media and tech? And so these are nice as well to share with your families.
And I was really, I was appreciative of my families. They wanted to know more about this. How can I help? How can I create more of what you're doing here in our home? And so that's where the literacy toolkit came in for me. I thought it was really helpful.
I love it. I'm loving to just the absolute plethora of resources that are being shared. I mean, you are set to go. And just sharing like how you brought it all to life. You used Book Creator, obviously, which is great, but it's not required. We think you should, obviously. But just the way you packaged it all and the excitement that you can clearly see the kids are taking this seriously, but that there's a fun component to it. And they're bringing it into their homes. Jennifer, you're talking about just engaging these families, which I having talked so much about this AI Literacy Week and everything that's leading up to it, I think is such a critical component. We've got to be talking to the kids. We've got to be in the conversations that are going on at home, which is, struggle, right? It's a super, super big struggle. And so thank you so much for all the resources that you've shared with us. We have a few more resources to share, but I don't want to take away from our next guest. So I'm going to say to Anne and Jennifer, the biggest thank yous ever for kicking off AI Literacy Week, for showing us all of the new curriculum pieces coming from Common Sense, and just for making us feel supported and that we all have what we need to face these challenging times. So thank you so, so much for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Folks, we got a double header. If you're into baseball, that's a thing. Check it out. Don't go anywhere. Don't log off, because we have got another guest coming up right now. We have author, speaker, teacher, superwoman, Alana Winnick, joining us solo at first, and then later we're actually going to hear from some of Alana's students. But Alana, I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself better than I just did.
No, you did a great job.
Oh, thanks.
My name is Alana Winnick. I do, there's so many echoings because I have all the kids' laptops ready. Gwenna, can you go around and just turn the volume down on that? Okay. So it's great to have students. I am the Educational Technology Director and Data Protection Officer of a school district just outside of New York City. And I also sit on the board of directors for NiceGate. My students absolutely adore Book Creator, and they're going to tell you all about that later. And I also started an organization called Students for Innovation, and one of my co-founders is a student, and she'll be joining us as well to talk about that. But I'm really here to talk to you about empowering you to shift teaching, learning, and assessment in a world with artificial intelligence. So should I share my screen now? Is that? Yeah.
If you share your screen, the amazing Katie Fielding, who's behind the scenes making all these pop-ups happen, she will bring it up.
Okay. And I see one of you said that you've seen my students. Yeah, they're incredible. They're really, honestly, awesome. So I'm very excited, if you haven't seen my students, to check them out.
Yes, Alana was on the Student for Innovation website, just kind of poking around and watching the videos. And it's just so inspiring to see the videos and the site and the organization that they clearly are all so energized around. So very excited for that part.
Do you see my screen? Yeah. Oh, wait, it's not in presentation mode, and it is on mine. Let's try that again. I don't know why that happened.
I love seeing community members like Rennie over in the chat putting up their comments, feedback, and just what is exciting or making them laugh or something that's engaging them. So we love to see you put your comments over there. Katie's also sharing a resource link just while Alana's finishing getting set up. She's also sharing a resource link that's going to give you all of the resources, just like this slide deck and all of the books that were just shared in the last webinar. Just fill out that little form and we will email you a link to everything. Alana, are you ready to roll?
I'm ready. Okay, so I just want to remind everyone of our jobs as educators. So I think we probably all went into this field with our purpose. Hopefully our why is students, right? So we should be preparing students for their future. So when they are our age and they're taking over the world and they're teachers or they're doing great things in the world, they have all the knowledge, skills, and tools that they need to thrive. Some people may disagree with this. This is my own personal opinion, but I think a lot of, I'm not saying you, but sometimes when students are in school, there's a lot of preparing them for standardized tests, right? But once they're our age, are those skills helpful? Yes, no, I don't know. I'm just asking you to reflect on that. That's for you to reflect on. But what they really definitely need are all of these skills to thrive when they are our age in our seats. So I think when we go through this presentation, we'll be rethinking what we're asking our students to do, or at least that's what I hope.
When asked what I'd say to a teacher who is hesitant about using AI in the classroom, my biggest argument would be that school is a place for learning the skills that are necessary for life. And If we're not taught how to use AI effectively in schools, then who will teach us?
It is important that we learn about AI because that really helps us when we're out there in the real world when we get older. If we don't know what AI is, people might be just saying, "Oh, well, do you have a phone or a laptop or anything? Like, do you know what complexity is? Do you know what magic media is?" We won't know what they are if we don't learn about AI in class.
Teaching our students how to use AI at a young age, we're actually disadvantaging them because other students who have been taught how to use AI in schools are at a
Alana, I think you got to unmute for us to hear it. Oh.
And learn to use AI tools may find themselves at a major disadvantage. By learning about AI, we ensure that we can keep pace with technology, maintain equal opportunities, and enhance our creativity even in a world dominated by AI.
So I see one of you wrote in the chat, yes, that was the girl that I brought to ISTE, and she'll be with me at FETC as well. So if you're going there, you'll see her again. And she's actually joining us today, so you'll see her there as well. But what I want to point out that you heard them very clearly say is that if we do not teach them how to use AI in school, then it's really an equity issue. That's the word they use. And it's causing a digital divide. And this is a very different type of digital divide that we've ever seen before. I think pre-pandemic, there was a digital divide that had to do with access to technology and the internet. And in most cases, every student should, in most cases, not everywhere, have access to a device and an internet connected device. But this is a very different type of digital divide than we've ever seen before. And this digital divide has to do with access to and knowledge and skills to artificial intelligence. And you could live in a very affluent area and every child could have a MacBook and Wi-Fi, but if they're not learning about AI, then they're at a disadvantage. So this one may not have to do with socioeconomic status. So it's just a very different type of digital divide. And last night I was out to dinner with one of my best friends who went to MIT and he coded and founded his own company. And he was telling me that he recently interviewed for a new position and he gave them a scenario and they had to come up with a creative solution. And someone on the team took that and ran it through an AI detector, and it said something like 85% generated by AI. And we were having a conversation about this, and I said, first of all, just so you know, AI detectors don't work. So I just want to set that straight for him, because I think we talk about that a lot in our educational world, but I don't think that the actual world understands, hopefully, what we understand. If you don't know about AI detectors not working, then we can cover that, but that's a whole different other conversation. But what we did talk about is he said, I don't care if they used AI because that was much more creative and innovative than anyone on my own team had come up with. And if they came up with that and they're more efficient, then all power to them. I'm for it. So that's a skill that students are going to need. And remember, I talked about, yes, we do want our students to do great on their exams. We do. But more importantly, when they are the ones applying for those jobs, to have the knowledge, skills, and tools they need when they're in the interview seat to get the job and keep the job. So that's more of what I'm talking about here today. And for us as educators, this could feel very uncomfortable. We may not understand AI ourselves, right? So that's okay. And there's plenty of webinars in this whole week to help you get caught up to speed. But as educators, we need to leave our comfort zone and we need to be more open-minded to using this with our students. And when you leave your comfort zone, that's really where the magic happens. And if you don't know about AI, like you might think I'm crazy, but hopefully by the end of this, you don't. Your students know so much. And even your really, really, really young ones, they have so much to share. So an ISTE standard actually is to learn alongside your students. So it's okay to say, I don't really understand this. Can you show me? Can you help me? Can we figure this out together? These students have created their own conversation starters and scenarios for you to open the dialogue in your classrooms with your own students. So all those resources are available for you, but I just want you to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Be okay leaving your comfort zone and trying something new. And this is about us being adaptable and resilient. And that is us modeling that for our students. And that's just one of the many skills that I think our students need to thrive when they are our age. So I put together this passport to success, and it's about 10 skills that I think that students need when they graduate to thrive in the real world. And I had written these about 2.5 years ago. And now in New York State, we've adopted Portrait of a Graduate, which is very much in alignment with this. So if you aren't familiar with Portrait of a Graduate, I definitely recommend that. And I'm so excited about it because it's non-traditional assessments and it's assessing students in these much more Book Creator is a great example of how we can use that. So we're really excited about that. And this data came out from the US Department of Education, and it said that only 49% of a teacher's time is spent directly in front of students, which means that 51% of their time is spent doing administrative tasks and other things. So for me, like, that's not why we went into education, right? We didn't go into education to do the 51% of what we're doing. We really went into education to do what we're only doing 49% of the time. So do I want teachers to use AI to save them time? Absolutely. I absolutely do. But I don't want them to do the same things they've always done before. So we need to rethink all of it. So I'm just going to pose this little scenario to you. There's a bunch of AI tools out there, not Book Creator, but there's a bunch of AI tools out there that say, use AI, save you time, save you time, save you time. Our tool is going to help you create the assignment. All the time you're using to create the assignment, we can help you. Yes, you should use AI to help you create the assignment. But now here's a flip side. The student, whether you like it or not, is probably going home and using AI to complete the assignment because they are. They just probably are. And 3, all the other AI tools, we're going to help you grade the assignment. Our tool will help you save time on grading and grade the assignment. So if the AI is creating it, doing it, and grading it, then what's the point of the assignment? Really, think about that. So this is what I want you to think about as you're giving your students assignments. What is the point of the assignment? And we're going to go through a little framework to help you really analyze that. So that's, again, just rethinking the assignment. I've always believed that education needed to change, even when I was a young student, like some of the kids you'll see in a few minutes. I just felt like I was sitting there. I was a parrot regurgitating the words my teacher said. And basically, honestly, that's what AI can do, just regurgitate information. So this is something I felt as a student. I've always advocated for change. And for me, AI is really just a catalyst for a much needed change that always needed to happen in the first place. But now, if AI could do the work for you in 3 seconds, then we need to rethink the work. So again, this is not something new for me. This is something I've always believed, but AI is just really that catalyst that's driving the change forward. And so what I see a lot of times is teachers take the same boring worksheets that I did as a kid, and now they're just digitizing them. And they're putting kids on all these other tools, not like a Book Creator, and it's skill and drill, skill and drill, skill and drill. Yes, does it make the teacher's life a little bit easier because it's grading and giving instant feedback? Yes. If we look at the SAMR model, it's definitely maybe not just an S, it's a little bit further, but it's not really redefining learning. So I love Book Creator. They didn't tell me to add this in. This is just supposed to be about AI literacy. But as I help my students and guide them through this, I really want them to be creators of knowledge instead of consumers of knowledge. So really, as we are adapting new software in my district now, we're really analyzing this. And we say, can you do this same thing with a creation tool before we go with a consumption tool? So it's just a lens that we have with our students. And how can they show their knowledge? Is it by doing a multiple choice test? Or is it something like a Book Creator or a WeVideo or something like that? Yes, it takes more time for the teacher to grade the assignment, but I think there's a lot more learning that's happening when the student is really creating instead of just consuming. So we talked about this SAMR model a bit ago. So I think we really need to focus, on that redefinition, redefining what's possible. And back in the day when I first became a teacher, or when I was actually a student, we would say, if your question is Googleable, it's just not a good question, right? If the kid could just Google the answer, then you probably want to rethink of how you're framing that question. The same goes with AI. If your assignment is AIable, it may not be a good assignment. I'm not going to say it's not. I'm going to put an asterisk there. It may not. So if you're not sure, take your assignment, copy it, paste it in any LLM, and if the AI can do it for you, it's probably not a good assignment. Again, I'm not saying it's not, but just rethink it. And so I'm going to give you this little framework to help you rethink your assignments. So it's a frame of what, why, and how. What are we asking our students to do? Like, what is the actual task of what we are asking them to do? Why? Why are we asking them to do this specific task? And how? How are we assessing their learning? And this one's really important, because if the student can just go and use AI and complete it in 3 seconds, and they're handing you the final product at the end, you don't even know if they did it or not. And yes, there's AI detection tools, which we said don't work, or there's tools that help you see the keystrokes. But I think we need to really rethink assessment as a whole, and we're going to go through that. So like I always tell my teachers, I tell them, put it in AI and see if it comes out. But I always tell them, just assume students are using it. If you could assume that students are using it, how would you change your assignment? So I'm going to give you a few examples. So one is a persuasive essay. Using that framework, the what, the why, the how. What is the point of the assignment? To persuade the reader to think differently. So what are we asking them to do? We're asking them to write that essay. Why are we asking them to do it? That was what I meant before. And how are we assessing them? Usually it's that end product, it's the essay. But if we keep the integrity of that assignment and keep the why, to persuade the reader to think differently, something that we did last year, and I have 2 kids in the room right now eating lunch that did this assignment last year, we transformed their persuasive essays into TED Talks, and they were 3rd graders, 7 and 8 years old, and they stood up on the stage. So if you think about it, before they were writing a persuasive essay, handing it in to their audience of 1 teacher, they may not necessarily care about it as much, or go back and want to revise it and make it better and make it better and make it better. But if they know that they're standing on a stage in front of their parents and community members, they will step up, they will go back, they will revise, and they can use AI every step of the way. They can use AI to help give them feedback on their writing. They could use AI like in Microsoft PowerPoint, they have like presenter or speaker coach to get them feedback on their speaking. They could use AI to help them generate images. And now AI becomes a tool to help them get there. And I promise you, their work is so much better when you give them these authentic learning opportunities than if you were just asking them to hand in an essay. Another example of something that we've done is taking a biography and reflecting on the what, the why, and the how, keeping the same integrity of the assignment, but instead they researched a person and we made the Perseverance Pod. So they had to create a podcast episode and talk about how the person they studied persevered through a challenging time. And then over the summer, you could drop 1 episode a week, so that family's so excited when their episode drops to hear about their students' podcast episode. But something else that we do that you could do is they could create like a book creator book that's a children's book about the person they studied. So they did a lot of research on that book, on that person, and now turning it into a children's book. And when they have to explain it in the simplest terms for a younger student, that really shows that they comprehended the knowledge. So that's another great twist for something like that. So as we're rethinking this, I like to say, focus on the process over the product. So instead of assessing the end product, the essay at the way end, we need to really assess the learning process. So more of this like project-based learning, more of this portrait of a graduate, and more of like taking the rubrics and not making it about that final product, making it about that learning journey. And a lot of times, some of our students, They might be super strong writers, but they may not be growing as a writer. Your A students are getting A's consistently, but are they growing? So I think when we take a step back and we're assessing the process, each student's process might be a little bit different. And that's more personalizing each student's learning journey. So we talked about the samurai model before, but I like to say samurais. So not just redefining what's possible, but what can we eliminate? So what I mean by this is I'm not at all suggesting that we get rid of foundational skills. I don't think that we should do that. But if a child mastered a skill multiple years ago, they've mastered it, why are we wasting their time on doing that again? And we talked about in the beginning about your time and using AI to save you time. If that child mastered that skill, why are we wasting their time? So they could use AI as a tool. They can use AI to help them cut corners of something they've already mastered. So when I show those projects, like I just showed you to some teachers, they're like, I don't have time. My students don't have time. We don't have time in the day. We don't have time. Well, let's reclaim the time by using AI and use that time for students to do these types of projects. And what we have to do is we have to make learning fun, because if learning's not fun for them, they are so bored. Like they are not engaged, they're not listening, and you could have the most important topic that you're teaching them, but if they are bored, they're not engaged and they are not learning. And the other thing is we have to teach them to create media that the world wants to consume. And yes, like many of the people you'll see on this week, we wrote books and there's a whole author series at night. Some people do enjoy consuming long form text. They do. Is that a skill students need? For sure. People in the world, some people don't like that. Some people love listening to podcasts. Some people love, looking at more of like a children's style graphic novel. There's so many, or like a TikTok style video. There's so many other ways to share, to prove that you comprehend it and share your knowledge, that it doesn't have to all be the same thing. And you should shake it up all the time, because the kids get bored. If you give them the same assignment over and over, they're going to get bored, even if it's a fun one. So we really need to make media that the world wants to consume. And when they are our age, like even let's say a student is a landscaper, and that's what they're doing when they graduate from high school. But then they decide they want to create their own landscaping company. They probably need to make social media content. If they want to get business, they need to create some type of content, right? And I think that AI really helps us level the playing field. And you're going to hear from some students in just a few minutes, and they're going to talk to you about how AI helped them level their playing field. And yes, do I think it's so important for every student to read and write? Yes, I'm not suggesting that that's not important. But for some students who may never read and write at the same level that you do, or they may not ever read and write at a high school level, we can give them the tools that they need to thrive when they are our age. And AI can help them level that playing field. For a student who is going to be, like I mentioned before, like that landscaper that's going to start his own company, he may not have the writing skills to develop a proposal or a business plan. But if he knows how to use, or she knows how to use AI, then we're giving them the tools that they need to be successful when they're our age, whatever that tool may be. I work with students who are dyslexic and dysgraphic, and having all these accessibility tools and dictation, and we're going to hear from some of them soon, it is life-changing and game-changing for them. And they will thrive when they are in the real world. And so what I ask of you all is this lesson redesign challenge. So just take one assignment that's traditional, like my persuasive essay or my biography, and how can you reimagine that assignment? And if you are not sure, guess what? You can use AI. AI is there as a tool for you to help you redesign that traditional, boring assessment and make it into something a little bit more fun and a little bit more engaging for your students. And so AI is just a tool. It's a very powerful, amazing tool, but it is just a tool. And we need to teach students how to use that tool. And in order to use it responsibly, we need to focus on AI literacy. And we just heard from Common Sense Education. They have a wonderful, robust lessons and resources for you to use. And they're awesome. We do love Book Reader. We love Common Sense Education in my district. But I like to give all of my AI users, both students and teachers, 2 jobs. Their 2 jobs are, 1, to be a detective on the lookout for bias and misinformation, which are both incredibly important. And their other job, their second job, is to be a DJ and remix the content so it reflects their own thoughts and their own ideas. And these are skills that we explicitly teach. We assume that students know how to use technology. They don't all know how to use technology. So we explicitly have lessons that teach them to look out for misinformation, spot, like, oh, they're doing a biography, they're an expert on that person. They're doing a research paper, they're an expert on that topic. Some of these students in the room with me right now, they researched frogs for 12 weeks. They don't even want to hear the word frogs anymore. But I'll tell you what, when they were using AI to research it, they're like, that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. So they were really a detective spotting all the misinformation. And now they know it's not always true. So they're always questioning everything the AI gives them. And then the DJ, so we give them assignments and we ask them to give it multiple ideas. And then what they do is they pick and choose. Like, I'm going to take a little bit from here, I'm going to take a little bit from here, and they remix it so that it's reflective of their own thoughts and their own ideas. And so when I was designing my book cover, the publisher kept sending back these like neural networks and these people and the faces. And I'm like, that's not what AI looks like. So I was like, what does AI look like? So it doesn't really look like anything. So then I decided, what does AI mean to me? So what I think AI means to me is this light bulb. We all know in education what that light bulb aha moment means. And inside you'll see a galaxy. So to me, it represents a universe of possibilities and a universe and a galaxy of ideas. So it's limitless possibilities. And as we're designing our lessons, we should think about this. There are so many possibilities and so many ideas that we can use in the classroom to impart on our students. So here's a little video of a student that's actually sitting in the room with me right now. So this was unsolicited. At the end of the year, I interview all the students. I do exit interviews. And it was actually for a ISTE presentation I was doing about writing reimagined. And they actually hate writing. But then if you turn it into something like Book Reader, they magically love it. But they don't like the actual art of writing. They will tell you that themselves. And then I was like, is there anything else you want to tell me? Unsolicited, he said this. So I didn't know that he was going to say this. I didn't prompt him. And this is what he said. And you could ask him about this later if we have time, but I'm going to go ahead and play it.
In transition, in 4th grade, we really don't use technology anymore. And I was pretty frustrated about how it changes lots of times. It's like one day you got to use AI and sort of stuff, but one day you don't. 365 days, yes. 365 days, no. 365 days, yeah. It just is even hard saying it, but it's like that when you're in school. Sometimes it just transitions over and over again, like a zigzag, up, down, and it's just sometimes I really don't like it, and I just want to learn more AI, but I kind of forget, and I really won't be able to use AI that much because of the past grade I was in.
And so when I heard that, it obviously crushed my heart. And I feel like you give the students access to these amazing tools and these amazing resources. And then we pull the rug out from underneath them, and they know what great education could and should look like. And then we take it away. And so if you're a leader here, I really want to leave you with this, that access to AI and innovation should not depend on who their teacher is. So as a leader, it's our job to make sure that all students have access. And if you don't have the resources to do that, guess what? You do, and they're students, and they're there to help you, and we're going to hear from them soon. So if you think you don't have I don't have a tech integrator, I don't have a STEM teacher, we make it happen here. So students are powerful voices, and we will hear from them in just a moment. But I want to remind you that your job as an educator is to prepare students for their futures. And it is, if I would have told you 6 years ago that AI would have been here, you wouldn't have believed me. So by the time that the students you're going to see right now graduate, the world is going to be even different than what we can imagine right now today. So what I want to tell you is that there are some paths that are so clearly defined. Being a teacher, being a doctor, being a lawyer, very clearly defined. Many of the jobs that they will have are not clearly defined, and we need to prepare them for the unpredictable, for anything, literally for anything that the world might bring them. And so that is our job. And so now I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to hand it over to some amazing students, and that'll be here to help.
Alana. Fantastic. I loved it. What's the point of the assignment?
Yeah.
Is this the first speakers? Which speaker should we bring on? All of them?
Yeah.
All right. Here we go.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. My name is Amia, and I'm a co-founder of Students for Innovation, an organization that I've been working with Ms. Winnick with for a little while now. So I'm going to start off by sharing my screen, giving you guys a little bit of an introduction to who I am, and then turning it over to some of these students I have with me today to talk about themselves a little bit. So let me just share my screen. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yep, looks good.
All right, perfect. So first of all, what is Students for Innovation? So this organization was founded in order to create a safe space and a platform for students around the world who think that there's something missing in their classroom, something missing in their education that could lead to more innovation. And they want to advocate for that, bring that into the classroom. So our goal is to give these students a platform so that they can speak their minds about what they think education really should look like. So for example, I am really focused on AI in the classroom because I had an experience that I'll talk about in a little bit where I, just like Kent, never was able to use AI. And then in one grade, I was able to, and then it was taken away from me. So now my mission is to change that and bring AI back into every single classroom. So just like that, we've had students from around the world present about gamified education, present about financial literacy in education, many different topics that each of them are interested in bringing into the classroom. And with that, we help them speak at conferences, speak to educators, speak to other students in order to build more of these new innovative ideas into a regular classroom experience rather than the traditional classroom we're all used to. So now I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Amia. I'm a junior in high school and I'm from New Jersey. And then I'm going to turn it over to some of the students. So Gwenna, if you want to start by introducing yourself, and then we'll move on from there.
Hi, I'm Gwenna. I'm from the United States. I'm in 5th grade and I love book creator.
All right, Jackson.
Hi, my name is Jackson. I'm in 4th grade and I live in New York.
Kent.
Hi, my name is Kent and I am a 4th grader and I am from New York, like most people right now.
Vera.
Hi, I'm Vera. I'm in 3rd grade and I live in New York.
And then Mackenzie.
Hi, my name is Mackenzie. I'm a sophomore in high school and I live in Indiana.
All right. So I'm going to start by talking a little bit about this fact that could be very surprising to many educators. So when we think about how many students have actually ever used generative AI before, we sometimes think that there are a lot more or a lot less students that have experimented with it than has been before. So in a regular classroom, it's good to know that there are only around half of students that have used AI in the past. So we can't go into a classroom assuming that every student has used AI before or knows how to use AI before, or that none of the students know how to use AI or have used it before. So that's a really important fact to keep in mind when we're addressing AI in the classroom. So then how are students actually using AI? So many teachers and educators and administrators believe that students are using AI to just cheat, to just create essays and not do any work on their own for them. But the truth is that actually the majority use of AI in the classroom is for searching for information and then for checking for grammar, summarizing documents, paraphrasing documents, and actually the smallest percentage is for creating a first draft, which we could consider as cheating. And so when we address students, we also need to remember that not every student is going to gravitate towards using AI for the bad things that teachers don't want them to use for, that are actually stunting their learning rather than allowing them to use AI to grow. So that's another important assumption that we want to get out of the way. So now the big question, do we consider using AI as cheating, and where do we draw that line? Well, it's tough to exactly define boundaries for AI because there's many different assignments and many different ways that we can use AI. And that creates this gray area between where academic dishonesty is versus intentional cheating versus using AI in the correct way that is actually helping us grow as learners. And then we have this idea of different tools. So is Grammarly cheating? Is using ChatGPT cheating? What about not even AI? What about a tutor? What if a tutor writes an entire essay for you and you turn that in? So how do we differentiate between all of these? And then between rephrasing one sentence versus rephrasing one word, but then you keep going, a paragraph, and then an entire section, an entire essay. Where do we draw that line? And then notes, turning that into flashcards and study guides, is that cheating? I mean, if I'm creating notes and then I'm turning those into flashcards so that I can study for my test, all I'm doing is helping myself grow. So there are lines that we need to draw, but the biggest thing to know is that these lines are not rigid. They change for every assignment. So in general, cheating is something that teachers are worried is on the rise because of AI. But in fact, cheating rates were already high before AI, and after the onset of AI in classrooms, cheating rates have not gone up. In fact, a Stanford study proves this and also shows us that cheating rates before AI were already at around 60 or 70%, which is such a high number. I know this is extremely shocking to many of us, including me. So what we realize from this is that the problem isn't AI. The problem is the way our traditional school system functions. Maybe instead of blaming and pointing fingers at AI because that's the new big technology that could be causing cheating, maybe we should reconsider how we're treating students in the classroom. And maybe we need to change the way that we traditionally test students, because we've had this education system for over 200 years. And as technology changes and as the way the world function changes, we need to make changes to our education system too. So like I said, the true problem in education isn't AI. That's just a way to point our fingers and not take the blame for what we haven't done to the education system. The problem with education is that students aren't engaged. They aren't motivated to learn. They don't want to learn. They're not interested. And they don't find what they're learning as relevant to what they're going to need to know for when they get into the real world, into the workplace and college and beyond. So what can we do now? I've talked a lot about the problems, but how can we solve this? Well, the biggest thing is that, like I said, there's no rigid lines. There's no one-size-fits-all policy when it comes to AI or any assignment. We need to make sure that when it comes to AI, we have assignment by assignment guidelines. Every assignment is different, and so every assignment should have a different way that AI is involved. For example, when a student is writing an essay, maybe for that particular essay, the best way to ensure their growth would be to allow students to use AI to help them with the brainstorming step of the process and maybe the revision step. But then when it comes to a presentation, maybe the student can use AI in a different way. So every essay or every presentation, every assignment isn't the same. Students need to be told what guidelines they should be given for each separate assignment. And then again, like Ms. Winnick mentioned earlier, process over product is one of the biggest important factors that hasn't been stressed enough in education over the past many years. And now what AI is doing is forcing us to do what we should have done over 100 years ago. It's forcing us to realize that we can't gauge how much a student has learned just by their end product, that final essay that they must turn in by the due date. We need to gauge whether a student has learned and whether they're improving by the process that they spend in order to learn and in order to get to that final product, not just the result. And so, like I said, again, we need to make sure that teachers make those guidelines about where and when AI should be used in order to actually help the student grow. So now I'm going to ask Vera to speak for a minute about how she feels about a worksheet versus AI. So Vera, do you want to unmute yourself?
So it's like if you have a worksheet and then like it's like really hard and like 5 people have the same question, you can't just like ask the teacher like all at the same time. But like AI, that would be like on everybody's computer. It's basically like your own teacher, and like people might be like, oh, that's bad because AI could just tell you the answer. But if you like program it in the same way as a teacher, it wouldn't do honestly anything different.
Yeah, I really agree with that, because when it comes to education, you can't really force a student to learn. If a student is bored and they're not interested, they're not going to learn. So the best way to help a student learn is by making them engage. And just like Vera was saying, for her and for thousands of other students in every classroom, why would they want to do a worksheet in order to learn when they can learn even more and learn better by using AI when they're actually engaged? And now I want Jackson to speak for a minute about being a DJ and remixing, to add on to what Miss Winnick was talking about earlier.
Being a DJ means you're not copying off AI, but using it to help you with ideas and the brainstorming part of every essay or presentation, because it can help you learn more.
Exactly. And that's where the guidelines come in, because we need to teach students to know and learn how to be a DJ like Jackson knows how to. Vera, your turn.
So also it's kind of like a DJ, but it's like a detective. So AI, like it can definitely make mistakes because like humans make mistakes. AI could also make mistakes because you have to program it and you don't know everything and it could make a mistake. So you have to look out for stuff that might not be true, because you can't just think like, oh, it's always right, like people invented it so it would always be right. Like a lot of things it says is right, but some of it would be like really not true.
Exactly. I agree with that. And it's important for students to be able to learn this early on at such a young age, like all of these students, that they need to be able to look out for credible information when they're using AI. They can't just trust everything. So that's why AI needs to be taught when students are actually in school. Jackson, can you talk a little bit about this example that we have up here?
AI can challenge you when you get every question right, or you want some extra motivation to learn. Like if you got every question right, you can ask it for some more challenges.
Yeah, so I see in this example here, the students that I have with me were working with AI to help them with math, and they were able to do all of the practice questions at first. And so then the AI was able to give them some harder questions and then continue and help them, as well as making sure that the student is able to do the work correctly throughout the process of solving the problem. So now, Vera and Jackson, I want you guys both to talk a little bit about your favorite chatbots. I know you've used many different chatbots in the past few years with AI. So what chatbots are your favorite? What assignments have you used them for? Give us a little bit of an overview. Vera, do you want to go first?
So, our teacher for third grade, she made a bunch of different AIs to help us with the different things we were learning. And so one of our favorite ones is Translingo Art Partner. It would tell you like if you don't understand a word, it would tell you in like another language, and then it would give you like some things that it's not, some examples of like what it could be used for, and also it would do some emojis like for pictures.
Wow, that's really cool. What about you, Jackson? What's your favorite chatbot that you guys have used?
My favorite chatbot was probably the math skills and strategies expert because it would help us with math, and math is one of my favorite subjects.
Yeah, that's cool. See, it could be used for almost any subject in order to help students get better in each different area. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about how I've used AI, because AI doesn't just have to be used to complete assignments and learn in assignments, but it can also be used to study. So one example of this is we've seen even with the math chatbot that we showed earlier, AI can be used to generate practice prompts in almost any subject. And then, especially as I was getting ready to take my AP exams last school year towards May, I was practicing a lot with writing out different essays with essay prompts, working out different problems for each of my AP exams. But I had a lot of trouble with trying to grade myself on the rubric because it's very hard to self-grade when you've written your entire essay or you've solved the entire problem and written your entire code, because you could be biased with knowing what you did, not being able to find mistakes. And so I wanted to be able to be sure that I got a problem fully right, or I got the full score of an essay as I was practicing to make sure I wasn't missing out on anything. And in this case, I was able to use AI to put in the rubric, put in my work, and it to tell me exactly what I missed out on, what points I got, what points I didn't get. And I think that really helped me prepare myself for the AP exams I took. And more than that, one of my biggest philosophies when it comes to school and every subject is that when I sit in a classroom and I learn, I don't want to memorize anything. I want to understand what's going on, even if it's a subject like history. It's not just about memorizing the dates and the events. It's about understanding how all those events connect to each other, what led to the next, why did this happen, and keeping on questioning why things happen and what that could mean for the future. And AI has really allowed me to master this understanding and connect different ideas by asking me questions that I wouldn't normally have asked myself and forcing me to go even deeper. And I could sit there and work with an AI tool for as long as I wanted and go deep into a topic as I want to. And that allows me to actually be interested and learn more than I might even have to for a class at school.
具体的なテーマをもう少し教えてもらえますか？例えば幽霊、
So
または何か他のものでも OK です。
僕は幽霊のことが欲しいです。
Okay, so I don't know if you were able to hear the audio for that, but this is an example of where AI is able to help a student that we actually have here with us today that couldn't speak English originally. And when a student comes to a new country or a new area and they don't know to speak that language, it can be really overwhelming because not only does that student struggle in that one class where they need to work on that language, but also every other class, because every single class is taught in English. So in this case, a student could work on their math skills without focusing on learning English and struggling through that in order to improve their math skills while also learning English. So Ken, I'm going to turn it over to you now to talk a little bit about your journey with what happened to you and how you used AI.
So I came at this school at pre-K, and I didn't know any English because both my parents are from Japan. None have any history about being American. So I had to use I would have been using a chatbot if I knew about AI from the start, because there was a translation setting inside School AI which was able to help me. There is also Google Translate, which is really popular. So both of those apps would have helped me grow and actually know what the teachers are saying. I had to learn English here, and it was really difficult learning it. So I think that maybe AI can help people who are from different countries.
Yeah, that's very true. And it's crazy to think about how much Kent has improved too, because just a few years ago, he was in this picture, couldn't even speak English and came to a completely new country. And now he's here presenting with me at all these different conferences. So I think everyone should give him a clap for that. So continuing on, I now want to turn it over to Mackenzie because she works a lot with AI and learning differences. So let's hear from her.
Okay, so fun fact about myself, I have a learning disability called dyslexia. So as you might guess, school is not easy for me. But these tools really make my school like lifestyle a lot better. All the tools that you see listed here are an essential part of how I am successful in school. I'm very proud of how I am in school because I feel like I do pretty well. You see complex things like AI chatbots to text to image, but you also see some more common tools too, like speech to text, access to audios, and being read aloud. All of those tools are so essential to me for me being successful in school. So I'm just going to talk about my favorite, more complex tools. If you look at School AI has some of my favorite chatbots because for me, I need things explained multiple times. I have a hard time processing information. It's almost like the dots don't connect to my brain. So I like to be able to ask all of these different questions to School AI, all the different chatbots. My favorite chatbot from them, they have little icons for every subject in school. So I liked it a lot in world history last year. I would click on the chatbot and I would say, hey, can you pretend that you're Anne Frank? Or another important key feature in history, and I could ask them questions from their perspective, which was so important to me because I got to hear what it was like for them with historically accurate information. Another amazing tool is by Cami. I have a hard time picturing images in my brain, so vocabulary is so hard for me, or being able to picture a scene in a book in English. That's also really hard. I can do text to image with Canva. Canva is really good at stuff like that. And it helps me keep up with everything in class because then I can keep up with my peers. What I'm missing out in my brain, I can keep up with it in Canva. But yeah, that's really cool.
Awesome. Thank you, Mackenzie. All right, now I'm going to turn it over to Gwenna to talk a little bit about what she's done with AI image generators.
So throughout like a lot of my school time, I've used a lot of different AI image generators, and one of my favorites is Canva because you can present, you can create things, and they've also got an AI thing to it where you can put in a prompt and it'll take out an image from, like, if I were to describe something, like if I wanted like a magical tree, I could put in what I wanted it to be, like how realistic, how cartoonish, and it would make me something I liked. And if it didn't, it gives me options, and I can also just keep working on until I get something better. And we also have made images, and with the images we used, we would present. So one of my classmates, she presented, you can see her picture there. It's like of soccer, but like we would use AI to help us with the images that we would present with. And you can also use Canva, and you can copy and paste your work onto a book creator. That's really nice.
Yeah, that's really awesome. I think even when I was a kid, I wasn't the most artistic. I wasn't great at drawing, but whenever I really wanted to create an image of all my ideas that I was thinking about put all together, it was really difficult for me to do that. So if I was able to have these tools, it would have been really cool for me and it would have allowed me to be as creative as I wanted to. So I think that's really cool. Now, Ken, I want you to talk a little bit about what you've done with actually learning to train AI models, which is taking a whole step further.
So in our school in New York, like right now, we created this club called the AI Club, which it's like what it sounds like, a club about AI. And we were learning about things with AI, and there were 3 main websites we were using to learn about actual machine learning. One is actually code.org, and it was really helpful because we were able to learn how the AI was training to detect pictures. So as quick draw, there was lots of data inside it, and it was using that to know which picture is which. So if someone did something wrong, it might have affected the AI because it went inside its data. Teachable machines is also a really good one. I actually like it the most because you could do it with any you can make the AI pick from any thing. So maybe I could do something like chess, this, and maybe the gym. That might actually work because you can pick all your own things, and you also need some creativity inside it.
Wow, very cool. So now that we've heard from all these students about the way they've used AI in their classrooms and at home, let's come back to the idea of AI in the classroom for teachers. I think one of the most important things to remember is that teachers and students need to have an open channel of communication when it comes to AI. So teachers need to set out the guidelines at the beginning of the year, first day of school, that AI guidelines are going to be given for assignments by assignment basis. So it'll change. But as each assignment arrives, teachers will be clear about exactly how students can use AI in that assignment so that students know exactly what to do and how they can use AI to help their growth. So at Students for Innovation, we've created a few conversation starters. It's a resource for teachers to use because sometimes it's difficult on the first day of school to know exactly how to start talking about AI, but it's important to just jump into the deep end, ask students questions about how they feel about AI, whether they think AI is cheating, and come to a conclusion that AI can be used for some assignments in order to help students like a tool, but in some assignments, it may not be allowed to be used. Just like we're allowed to use a calculator for some assignments in math and not for others. AI is just another tool like that. And like Miss Winnick talked about earlier, if we don't give every student the tools and the learning in order to learn how to use AI and use it in a way that allows them to be successful, we're actually creating a digital divide for those students. So we're allowing some students in some schools to go into college knowing how to use AI and being in a much higher off playing field than those students that were refusing to teach them how to use AI properly and how to use it to allow our success. So definitely keep that in mind because we need to make sure our students are as best off as we can make them when they graduate and go into college. So now, what can schools do to support AI literacy? So I'll start with my own story. So when I first got into the high school in my district, our school actually blocked Grammarly on many of the district devices and Wi-Fi, and they sent us this email. And their reason for doing so was that Grammarly was a form of AI, and they didn't know, they were scared of what AI could do and how it could affect students negatively, they thought. And so then I reached out to first my vice principal, and I explained that in my belief, I think that AI can be used for much more than what everyone thinks is cheating. And if it's addressed the right way, AI can actually make a positive impact on students' lives and allow them to learn more. And so then with that, I eventually was able to work with my vice principal to do professional development for some of my teachers. And that was really cool because one day I was teaching them how to use these AI tools. And the next day I was in class and they were using them for assignments for us. And then after that, I eventually got invited to this AI task force committee for my entire district, where I actually got to sit there at a table with the superintendent and draft district AI policy. And the policy finally came out right before the school year started. And I have to say, I'm so impressed because they took a lot of the advice that me and a few of my fellow students gave them. The policy is very open to using AI and fully dependent on the teacher's decisions for different assignments. And actually today I was in class and one of my teachers introduced this policy of if there's a red AI circle next to an assignment for a homework assignment, then you can't use AI at all. If it's orange, you're allowed to use it for a few specific things that were listed. If it's green, I believe, you're allowed to use it fully. So there were a few different colors and a scale of exactly how you can use AI, and she would go ahead and explain it by assignment. So I think that this improvement for my school especially has been a big step, and I'm excited to see what other schools can do as well. So really quickly, I'm going to ask Gwenna to talk a little bit about Innovation Club. I don't want to go too much over 12:30, so we'll make the next few slides quick. So Gwenna, go ahead.
So at my school, we have something called an Innovation Club, and it's super duper fun because you get to use AI, and we do like lots of different big projects. So one of the things we've done is we've taught the teachers about technology. So like we brought them in and we've been practicing for a while. Like the tech people, they gave us some working stuff, and like it showed us how we were supposed to use the VR headsets and how to get them working. Well, they were wrong, and we had to go through like a couple of weeks of just like going over steps and like logging into it so everybody was comfortable with the idea and how it worked. And then once we finally got it down, we invited the teachers in and we taught them all about how we can use VR headsets. So that was fun.
Kent, do you want to add to that a little bit? I know you're very excited about Innovation Club.
Okay, so we are also able to teach some students, or mostly kindergarteners, about Innovation Club. Book Creator. It's an app that everyone loves inside our school. I mean, everyone. So we were able to teach the kids how to use Book Creator. I think the popularity of Book Creator just went up. But I think we were able to teach the kindergartners really good. We were also able to present at the board meetings to tell the teachers about, or the people about, how we use AI in the classrooms, and they were actually really surprised because they didn't think of it.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing. So as we could see, there's so many different ways for teachers and students to make change regarding AI policy and innovation at their schools. And just like these young students have been doing, they can even present to their board at such a young age in clubs like Innovation Club. So with that, I just want to mention that you can head to our website at studentsforinnovation.org to get information about our future conferences, and you could reach out to us if you want us to speak for professional development at your schools, work with teachers or students. And there's many videos and resources from past conferences, so definitely put your email into the website. It's all free. And then like I mentioned, we have those additional resources. But beyond that, there's a lot of things that you can do with Students for Innovation at your own school. So one thing is, as a teacher or a student, you could start a chapter of Students for Innovation at your own school, like these students have done with Innovation Club. So what this allows you to do is advocate for change at your own school. So you're working small at your own school to make difference where it matters most to you, and you're able to see that change in your own community, and we'll help you with giving you resources and presentations and support at monthly webinars where you can then use that information to present to your leaders, present to your board, and help make change the way you want to make change at your own school. And beyond that, there's also another opportunity for students to join the leadership teams. That's students like me who work with all these other students around the country and hopefully soon around the world in order to help them make a change at their own schools. So our team is focused on presenting at conferences and helping other students and educators professional development. And so if you're an educator who knows students that would be really interested, definitely either email us or have them fill out the application form on our website, because we are looking for more students now to join our leadership team as the older ones are graduating and going off to college. So with that, I just want to say thank you so much to Miss Winnick for giving us this opportunity, as well as Book Creator. We're so happy to be here to talk about what we're really passionate about today. So thank you, Book Creator, once again.
Oh, the pleasure is all ours. That was absolutely fantastic, Maya. And guest, I think a few folks had to drop off, maybe had to go to class. But just wonderful presentation. Everyone in the comments could not agree more, Maya, just at how inspiring you and students for innovation are, and just everything that you shared with us today from the student perspective. It's absolutely amazing. And hopefully everyone out there watching right now, just giving a huge round of applause to these students for having the bravery and the courage to step up, speak truth to power, and let the adults in the room know that the students are listening, the students are powerful, they have incredible minds, and they need to be included in the conversation. So hopefully that's what you're walking away with. Katie behind the scenes is sharing all. So one more round of applause for our students, Students for Innovation. Thank you so much. Is Alana coming back out? We want to bring her back out. All right, there she is. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having them. They love talking to audiences and inspiring teachers. And if you thought they were amazing, I promise you, you have students just like them in your own classes, in your own schools, and your students can do this too. And you could start your own innovation club. You can be part of a larger community. So when people think Amia is amazing, she is. I have some little like third graders that do the same thing. And by the time they get to be Amia's age, it's just a leadership skills I see as they grow is so incredible. So I encourage you all to leverage your students and incorporate student voice. And when we started our superintendent's conference day this year, we had our youngest students presenting to our teachers to really inspire them. And now the teachers were like, okay, and I have to use this now, because if they really inspired and motivated them to be more interested in it. So that's my challenge to you, is to.
There's an Amia in every school. And Alana, thank you so much for bringing students for innovation to us, but also encouraging them to help spread the word and make new chapters. I hope that that's something folks choose to do. So thank you so much. I know that was no easy task to bring yourself and students from multiple schools into one stream. You really are a superwoman, Alana. Thank you so much.
Thank you for hosting this. I'm excited for the whole week. And I'll see you later this week.
Yeah, you will. All right, folks, that is what we have for you today, but don't worry, there are 3 more amazing days left for AI Literacy Week. Don't miss us tomorrow. We are going to be kicking things off at around the same exact time. We're going to be meeting up with Brittany from Class Companion and the amazing Farmer Pops. And they're going to come in and show you everything that Class Companion is doing and talk a little bit about what's under that hood. And then we will be hearing from Yaritza Villalba, who will be on to share a little bit about that parent piece, which we talked about a little bit at the beginning with common sense, but there's definitely a lot of work that needs to be done when it comes to engaging parents and families, and just that community at home is so important. And then we're going to wrap things. Oh, that's up. That's it. Then on Thursday, we'll come back. We'll have We Will Write. And then we're going to have an AI panel. And we'll go over that more later. Make sure you register for the event so you get all of the resources. Katie's in the background there. She's been sharing all those links down below. So please do make sure you register, get all your resources. And yeah, we will see you tomorrow. All right. Take care and happy bookmaking.